I always like to start with the journey to New York story. I know you're not too far away from here, as I understand it, in your upbringing. What brought you to New York? What's the story initially of bringing you into Manhattan?
Well, I grew up in Bronxville, New York, in Westchester County, and moved to Boston for college. And after college, or at the end of college, we did a showcase in New York. I had always been planning to move to New York anyway, because I wanted to do theater, and that's where you do it. But we did a showcase at the end of my senior year of college, and I got signed by an agency in New York and by a manager in New York. Both have since we've gone our separate ways. I can explain the details if you'd like, but yeah, that's what brought me to Manhattan. And the agency that signed me was at the time at 275 7th, which is right around the corner. So it's cool to pass that building all the time and remember how I felt when I was going in there the first time and walking out of there successfully signed. That was a really exciting time in my life.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
In high school, did you have a sense from a very young age that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think when I was 14, or no, I guess I was 15. I was a sophomore. I had gotten my first lead role in a play. I did my first play ever freshman year and had a really amazing time. And then got a really substantial role sophomore year and was so afraid of it at first. I wanted it so badly, but then when I got it, I was terrified. And I ended up loving it so much, and I felt like it was the first thing that I was ever naturally good at. And my teacher, Mr. Royal, was so wonderful. He was so encouraging, and he pointed out that I had something unique. And I remember he would help me with auditions. I would practice my monologues for him. And he would bring teachers from across the hall. He would say hold on, Michelle, you got to do this again. And he would bring in Mr. Doyle, Mr. Royal and Mr. Doyle. And he would say you got to watch this. Look at this. Look what she can do. And I would do a weepy monologue from Law and Order SVU or something. And they'd say wow, Michelle, this is amazing that you can do this. You can really do this if you want to do this. And it was amazing. It was I wanted to hear that so badly. And I privately felt like that was true. I had always kind of thought, I would watch TV and I would see kids saying a monologue, and I would pause the TV and say it myself in my way, this is how I would play it. Or I would try to replicate it. I would look in the mirror and cry or whatever. And I would do it and think, yeah, I guess I really can. But then I would not think anything of that. This was in middle school before I ever did a play. I guess I was I was testing to see if I could do it. And then when I could, I was too shy to tell anyone or something. But yeah, when I was in high school and I started getting this kind of feedback, I remember telling my parents, I think I want to be an actor professionally. And I also told them that I was going to be on Law and Order SVU by the time I graduated high school. Did not happen. Did not even do one single thing that could have made that happen. I watched them film it once. I walked by set. I hung out for a bit and talked to some of the crew. But yeah, I remember sitting down and very earnestly telling my parents I want to be an actress. And they said, great. Go ahead. You should. You can. And I'm really grateful for that. They were so encouraging. They always have been so encouraging. And my dad in particular, he just cries all the time when I act, in anything. It doesn't have to be sad at all. He's always just and he was when I was when I was 14, I remember doing a monologue for him in the kitchen, and he just like burst into tears and was like, if you can do that in the audition, yeah, you're going to get the lead. And then when I did, he was like, yeah, of course you did. He's it feels like he has really seen like my potential from the very beginning, and I'm really grateful for that.
You said when you did that first play that you loved it. What about it did you love?
Well, it was called All in the Timing by David Ives, which is a collection of like little skits. They're very strange comedy vignettes. It's very clever and language driven. And I was one of 3 freshmen to get in, 2 girls and 1 boy. So that felt cool that it was mostly like juniors and seniors and cool ones, funny ones. And it was just so much fun. I was playing a monkey in one. I was a chimpanzee named Kafka typing at a typewriter with my feet in a play about that like joke or idea that if you put 3 monkeys in a room with a typewriter, eventually they'll type Hamlet. Is that the joke? I don't know where it comes from. But it was like playing on that. And I got to jump around and be funny. We had a tire swing on stage and I got to swing around and I felt so confident and funny. Like I knew how to be funny, which was really exciting that I could make a room laugh. Yeah, I just, I think what was really amazing about it was that I could be seen by my peers in a safe way, in a way that was controlled. Like I was so shy. I was really, really painfully shy. I would get nervous rashes when people would talk to me. Like it was a real problem. I went to a psychiatrist about it. I was so anxious. And there's a lot of different like reasons why I'm in therapy now, and we talk all the time about my childhood. And yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on at home, and my school was really kind of there was just a lot of it felt like everyone was watching each other all the time for any kind of weird behavior to make fun of. Anything anyone did was like vulnerable for this kind of teasing. It was never, we never had like fights in school. It was never like overtly violent. It was always like little comments, and the boys did it more than the girls. It wasn't just the girls. But yeah, it was a lot of like whispering and people making glances, and like I always felt like I was on the outside of some joke. I didn't know how to talk to boys at all. I felt like I was pretty, but I like didn't know how to be. Like I didn't want to be seen. I would raise my hand in class, and when the teacher would call on me and people would look at me, I would like feel my face getting red and I would want to leave. I remember giving a presentation in a history class and having this nervous neck rash and like running to the bathroom after and being in tears. Like I just didn't know how to relax. And so when I was in a play, all of a sudden I like knew how everything was going to go, and I looked good. I had, I was wearing a cool costume, and I felt like it was a safe way to be seen. And it was so nice that like, I think my classmates were all probably a lot nicer than I felt like they were at the time. I was probably so insecure and like hating myself that I projected onto them that they didn't like me. But I do particularly remember when I was in plays, people that I didn't feel like I was friends with, teachers would like give extra credit if you went to see the play. So everyone would kind of go see it. And kids that were, I thought, way cooler than me that weren't my friends would be like, Michelle, you're really good. That was really cool. Good job. I don't know how you did that. And that felt awesome. It was nice to be seen, to have like some kind of talent or special thing recognized. Because again, I really wasn't like good at anything.
What is that talent? What did you notice that you had in yourself that, or you could do that, gave you the sense that you might be able to do this well?
I think I have this ability to like trick my brain into believing that something is true, that something is really being said to me right now, and they mean it. And I can feel the impact of it as if it's true. And it's not always happening, but when I'm doing my best work, I feel like I have this fluidity or something, or like gosh, I don't really know how to put language to it. It's my brain can imagine. I have a strong imagination, and it doesn't take that much for me to drop into the given circumstances, the imaginary circumstances. I can make it true for me with ease. And I can say things like they're true. And this is something that I've gotten better with age. But what I like about my acting is that I try not to put anything on the line. I try to just put the feeling that I'm having on my voice and let the line come out and let it like surprise me the way that people talk. That's how we do actually talk. I have an impulse to speak. I don't know how I'm going to end this sentence, but I have an intention that's carrying my voice forward. You are really in front of me. I am really talking to you right now. I am really trying to make a point that you understand. I'm like actually doing something. And so when you have lines, the challenge is to activate them and to say them for real, and to be doing something for real. And I think I have good control over my voice and my body, so that when I feel that I'm faking it, I can cut it out pretty quickly and recenter and reinvest in the imaginary world.
The decision to pursue this more intentionally, I know you were saying off recording that you went to BU for college. Mm-hmm. How did that decision come about? Tell me about the BU admissions process, what you remember from being there that mattered.
Well, I wanted to go to a BFA program, or I wanted to go to an acting program for college. I knew that since this boy, Nicky Ballack, I think now he goes by Nicola Ballack, he was a senior when I was a freshman, and he is an incredible actor. He was the most serious actor by far in our whole school. And he graduated and went to USC School of Theater. I don't know what it's called, School of Dramatic Arts. So that was very cool to me. I don't think I really understood that you could go to college for acting until he did that. And when he went there, I decided that I wanted to go there. I did not have the grades for USC, but also I applied. I was interested in comedy a lot in high school, and there was a comedy minor that they were offering at USC, so I wanted to study. I wanted to get a BA in acting and minor in comedy. When you audition for the BA, or when you apply for the BA program, you don't get to audition, or at least you didn't back then. So you just do a phone interview. I biffed this phone interview. I was so weird. I didn't do a good job. I don't know. I was like trying to be funny and my jokes didn't land. It was on my 18th birthday. I remember it. And I like made some joke about like, I guess I can go apply for the army or something. That's like a benefit of turning 18 because I'm not 21 yet. Oh, God. So I didn't get in. And I applied to a couple other schools. Chapman University, bombed that audition, forgot the words, didn't have the script in my pocket. horrible, horrible time. I also auditioned for Emerson. That was an amazing audition. I got in there. I considered going there. I also auditioned for BU. And the BU audition was like Emerson, you did 2 contrasting monologues, 1 classical, 1 contemporary. And then I chose to make them more distinct, and I did 1 comedy, 1 drama. I did a piece from this play Whiskey by Terrence McNally, which was a pick by my drama teacher in high school, Mr. Royal. Amazing choice. That's what I found out. Michaela, who auditioned me, told me that I got in because of this monologue. And it was such a great piece for me. It was this girl the character is named Southern Comfort, and she's talking about how she's so frustrated because every guy that she dates is a football player and they all die on the field. She's lost like 6 boyfriends through concussions and various like ridiculous cartoonish injuries. And she's like pissed about it. She's not really grieving. She's more like, you gotta date outside of football players because they will just die on you. Trust me. So I did that piece, and she's kind of like, she's like a baton twirler, sort of like a ditzy, pretty girl. And I think it was like a smart choice for me because I was sort of acknowledging how I came across, while also giving this hint of weirdness and comedy and irony. I was like playing sort of a cheerleader type, but also letting them know that that's not really who I am. And they really loved that. And the other one that I did was from Antigone, and that was not really that fun. But yeah, that audition was really good. I felt really confident. They were laughing a lot during the Whiskey one, and that made me feel really good. And then we were talking after, and I like made a few jokes, and they seemed to like me. And they had talked about wanting not only good actors, but good people, nice people in this program. And so I was really on my best behavior. I guess I wanted to show them how like social I am or something. Yeah, I made a good impression. I knew I got in when I left. She like pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you did really beautiful work here today." And I knew they're not saying that to everybody. Yeah, that's how I ended up. I chose BU over Emerson because I wanted to go to a college that had a bit more of a traditional university vibe. I wanted to go to like hockey games, and I really liked that not everyone was majoring in something artsy. And yeah, I just wanted a bit more of a traditional college experience, and I felt that I could get that at BU, which I didn't really get much of, but I had flashes of it. I went to the Bean Pod once.
You said before we started recording that you met some weird people.
Yeah.
When you were there. I'm sure there are too many stories that we don't have time to cover, but what was your takeaway? What kind of weirdness did you notice tends to be a part of a group of 40-ish so people that basically want to make pretend in front of other human beings? What stands out, if anything, of some of the themes you noticed in just the diversity of minds that you came across, the weirdness in those people?
I think, well, I mean, when you say what was the weirdness like, I think about Locals, which was our freshman year performance. We had a weekly, you weren't performing in plays as a freshman. You were doing stagecraft, stuff behind the scenes, working in the shop, whatever. And then your sophomore year, you enter casting. So we have this weekly thing called Locals on Friday afternoons where you get to perform for your class, just your class, and you can do anything you want. And there are no rules other than like no blood. And that's it. So that was the place where the weirdness was on display. That was the freak show. That was the weekly freak show that we attended. And of course I was like, God, I wish I could go back actually and I would tell myself, what if what you're watching right now is brilliant? What if? Like, just entertain the possibility that you don't know everything and that there might be, maybe it's not executed perfectly, but there might be something really beautiful happening on stage right now. I was like elbowing my friends, like rolling my eyes at the stuff. But let me tell you about some of this stuff, and you'll empathize with me for rolling my eyes. There was a guy who hung a bag of meat from the ceiling and started punching it, and he hadn't like secured the rope or whatever was suspending it, so it fell immediately onto the floor. After like 2 punches, it just fell off. But not wanting to finish his piece, he just starts punching it on the ground. So we're watching, and it's of course like the bag is breaking, the meat is spilling out onto the stage. He's like grunting and sweating, and I'm sitting next to my friend Jack, like squeezing his hand, trying not to laugh. You know, what causes that? I assume there was some feeling, you know, and this is giving him a lot of credit, but let's imagine that it really was like an earnest performance piece. I imagine that he found that this was a metaphor for something that he was going through or something that he believes or something he's struggling with. And maybe the meat represents something and he wants to destroy. I don't know. Another time, this guy got up and just started beating himself with a belt. He was like self-flagellating. That was upsetting. But so much nudity. So much nudity. One guy shaved his pubic hair. It was all very self-indulgent. No, that's not fair. Let me not be a hater. It sometimes felt self-indulgent. But that's also what happens when you're 18 and you're given the challenge of like putting on some kind of performance to speak to who you are. And our teachers were telling us, be brave, do something that scares you. What haven't you done on stage yet? So I can understand the urge to want to just do something nuts. And, you know, like the play that you and I saw with the urine, I think 18-year-old me in college would have been like elbowing my friends about it, being like, let's get out of here. This is fucking crazy. But now I'm like genuinely moved by the visceral impact that had on me and the rest of the audience. When do you see an audience full of people like gasp together earnestly, covering their mouths, going, oh my God, that's not something to roll your eyes at. If you can get that reaction, like I told my friend about the show and she said it sounds cheap. And I understand what she means. It's, you know, it's going to be shocking. It's kind of like, maybe you could say it's easy, but I don't even know if it is easy. It's not easy to pull off something like that. For context, for the listeners, we saw a play where someone drank 2 glasses of water at the beginning of the play and then like halfway through pees on someone and the pee got on the guy's face and in his mouth. But he's a performance artist. He loves that stuff. He was happy to do it. And no one got hurt. And it's all ultimately very innocent. Even though it's like playing with the subject matter concerned like torture, I guess, but it was like consensual, whatever. Yeah, I think this is an all over the place answer to your question about what causes people to do that kind of weird stuff. But I think life is so absurd and feelings can be so enormous and confusing that maybe it occurs to you to express that through something nonsensical, something that makes people gasp. I mean, yeah, I've gotten way more appreciative of abstract art as I've gotten older because life feels so weird, and art that is disorienting and doesn't explain it all for you appeals to me more and more because it feels truer. So maybe there is something really beautiful and true about the guy punching the bag of meat. There definitely is. That's the thing. There definitely is. Is it good? No. It's still not entertaining, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And I could stand actually in my art to be a little more willing to do something that's maybe bad, but feels really true to me. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this time period vividly for yourself, but when you got out of that program at BU, did you already know, it sounds like you did, that you wanted to come here to New York? And I'd love to just get the story of how you went from graduating from there to this city, what that story is, how you actually got to New York. And I know it sounds like you signed at one point. What happened?
Yeah. So I did a showcase. I wrote a 1-minute monologue and performed that with my classmates for like agents and managers that the school had invited to this little theater on 25th Street. And I got an email that night from what was then it became A3 Artists Agency, but it was Abrams Artist Agency for a long time. And they wanted to meet with me, and a couple other agencies wanted to meet with me, and one manager wanted to meet with me. So I met with the manager first. I really liked him. I ended up signing with him. And then I had my 2 agency meetings. The first one I did terribly. I was so stupid. I was so obnoxious. I didn't realize how obnoxious this was, but I was like they were asking me what kind of work I wanted to do. And I was like, well, I don't want to do commercials. I want to do, serious art. Like, that's the last thing they want to hear. Oh, so you don't want to make money? Yeah. And for me to like immediately start with what I didn't want to do was just really bratty of me. I really regret that. But who knows? They didn't give me an offer, but it might not have even had anything to do with that. But then I met with Abrams, and there was one agent there who had seen me and was like vouching for me, and she wanted me to meet with the whole team. There was like 9 agents or something. So I go to her office, we talk for a little bit, and then she brings me into this conference room, and they're all there, and I kind of just like put on a little show. They like ask me questions about my life, and I'm trying to be charming and funny, and by the end of that, it seemed to go well. It was kind of just like, welcome to New York. What has it been like so far? I left that meeting and went to Grand Central to go home to my parents' house, and I got a call from the agent there saying, we'd like to offer you a contract. So I said yes, and then I went back to school, actually, because this all happened during like spring break or something. So then I finished my senior year, and I was actually auditioning for stuff already, like before school had ended. I had an SVU audition, which felt like amazing, just auditioning for that after years of wondering how do you even get an audition? Like, I didn't understand how people got in the room to even try. So doing that was amazing, and it felt like just auditioning felt like booking. But yeah, I finished school. I did some auditions up in Boston, and then I was going to be in Nantucket actually working at a theater company for the summer as like an assistant. But my agent said, you should really be in New York auditioning. We need to get you in the rooms. We need to introduce you to people. So I bailed on that. And I was all of a sudden like auditioning for HBO and Netflix like immediately, and going on general meetings at Warner Brothers. And I met like Julian Fellows, who made Downton Abbey. And it was totally insane. It felt like being shot out of a cannon. I was like convinced that I was going to be famous tomorrow. Like, then the way they spoke to me was like that. So, and I had like a bit of success just in terms of getting callbacks and stuff in that first year, and went all the way to like chemistry read for this Netflix show that only ended up getting one season, but who's counting? But I had a lot of good luck in 2019, and then pandemic happened, auditions slowed, my manager broke up with me when I was, I think it was 2022. And then I got a call last February, I think it was, or not this past February, 2024. My agent said, well, actually, this is kind of interesting. She said, I'm leaving A3 and I'm going into management. So no one at A3 knows you at this point, and they're not offering you a contract. So at this time, our relationship is ending. Like, it's been great working with you, whatever. So I was under the impression that A3 was fine, but she was just leaving. But then 2 days after that phone call, there's this article that A3 is totally going under. They're bankrupt. They have no money, and there was mismanagement from like the top, and the whole thing is disintegrated. So I guess she was not allowed to tell me. She wanted to like warn me, but she couldn't say too much. So like she gave me sort of half the story. But yeah, that was kind of a strange chapter. I was super depressed. Like, it felt like I had also just gone through a breakup that February. So, and it was a 7-year relationship. So that ending, plus now I don't have an agency, I don't have a manager. I just felt like everything was going away. But almost immediately after that, things really picked up and my life got way better. So all of the theater stuff that I'm doing now, I don't think I would be doing if I were still auditioning all the time. I probably would just be still sending self-tapes in and like wondering why I'm never booking. But now I have like this consistent stream of theater work, and I made that totally all on my own, which feels good and fulfilling.
When you sign with an agent and a manager, how does that work? Do they give you some sort of like upfront bonus financially to sign with them?
No.
Talk to me about the financials of, and just the details of that kind of a relationship. Because I'm sure a lot of people who might listen to this are trying to get to that point. Explain to an audience that doesn't understand how those dynamics work, why that matters to sign with an agent and with a manager.
So an agent gets you auditions. That's why it's important to sign. There are auditions that are not available to everyone.
Yeah.
An agent is required. They cannot by law take more than 10% of what you make. They typically, I mean, I'm not totally sure about how all of them work, but I think agencies make a salary regardless of what their actors that they represent make. So they just basically send you out as much as possible, and everything you book, 10% goes to them. They will negotiate the best deal for you. They'll help you get the audition, and then when you get the job, they'll help you get the best deal. A manager is not under the same rule that an agency is regarding how much they can take. There is no limit to how much a manager can take, which is why they can be really dangerous. A good manager will take no more than 10%. Both agencies and managers do not cost you anything ever. You should never pay for an agent or a manager. They make money when you make money, and that's how it works. A manager typically has fewer clients than an agent, and a manager is often when they sign you, they're thinking about your career more long-term than an agent is. An agent is thinking about the next job. They want to get you. I had it explained to me like this. If you're in like a little carriage, a horse-drawn carriage, the horses are the agents and the person driving the carriage is the manager. They're concerned about where you're going. And so those relationships tend to be really long, whereas people switch agencies maybe every 5 years, every 10 years. I mean, some people stay with them forever, but it's more common to switch around. And as I said, an agent is going to make money regardless of whether you work or not, especially if they have a lot of high-profile clients like mine did. So they're not struggling financially if you're not making money. I'm speaking with, this is probably wrong about in a lot of cases. I'm sure that I'm talking out of my ass right now, but this is how I understand it. A manager typically isn't making any money unless the clients are making money, because they're operating by themselves. They're not on this big team the way that an agent is. So a manager is almost more invested in you as an individual, whereas an agency is trying to like build a team, sort of. This could be really wrong. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. If anyone is listening and they disagree, you're right.
You said earlier that you thought early in your career you were about to get famous, that was that something you wanted?
This is going to sound so totally insane. Well, yes, it is something that I've wanted, and it's something that I still feel like it's just going to happen. I've always had this strange feeling like, yeah, it's coming. It probably just is coming. And maybe that's because I want it to so badly that I've convinced myself that it's true. But then all these weird lucky things happen where like people do notice me in performances, and I keep getting work from the work that I do. Like people see my shows and more stuff comes from it in a way that's really validating and kind of reassures me that like people do see something in me. And yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be like really famous, but I am certain that I'm going to like be in movies. I'm going to be in like a couple movies at least. And I mean, I wouldn't I feel like embarrassed to talk like this. I feel like I'm not supposed to, like this is obnoxious or something. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I could be on Broadway. I don't think it would be crazy. I am that good. Like, I'm not saying I always am, but I'm capable of being that good. And if I were able to make it all the way there, I'm certain that I would do a good job. So it just feels like, you know, everything in my life points towards it. It's all that I'm focused on. And I have this network of all these people that are wanting similar things, and I feel strengthened by that. So I really feel like if I just stay with it, everything I want to do is going to happen. And maybe that's naive or privileged, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The fame itself, are you interested in fame primarily, and correct me if any of this is wrong, but is it mostly that the fame would be a byproduct of a natural ascension to opportunities with the talent that you have? Or is there something about just being famous in general that you think is sort of in your, I don't know if destiny is the right word, or your interest? How do you think about that?
Well, I would like it to be for my work. I'm not really interested in my personality being the thing that is presented. Is that even true? I mean, I like the idea of being on a talk show and being charming. I'm having a great time being interviewed right now. This is like totally the best. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the work that I want to do is like prestige film and prestige theater. And yeah, if you're on Broadway or if you're in a movie that a lot of people are seeing, then I guess a lot of people will know you. And I really hope to be doing work that a lot of people are seeing.
Is there anything about that possibility that is not appealing to you?
Totally. I mean, it's really scary. I imagine that people won't like me. I have a like fear of being obnoxious or, I don't know, being tone deaf, people listening to me talk and thinking that I sound out of touch or something, or self-obsessed or something, full of myself. I don't know. Because these are things that I worry about myself, that I am this way. And I think that if I were under a microscope, people probably could see these flaws and would be within their rights to point it out, like everyone does with celebrities. And yeah, I mean, the idea of like a movie coming out that I'm in and people saying mean things about my performance, that scares me. Or even just stuff about my life. People like digging into my business scares me. You know, my friend Ashby, who I mentioned earlier, is on this Netflix show, and there are photos of him that his fans are finding from like high school. And I don't know how they're finding them, maybe on Facebook or something, but they're like circulating these images of him at like 12 years old. And that really scares me. That really doesn't appeal to me at all, that people would have an interest in doing stuff like that. But if that's the price of, you know, doing the kind of work that I want to do, that's fine. I think I can manage. There's harder stuff. I can do a good job about like not reading stuff that's going to upset me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. How much does this work matter to you? I mean, in your life priorities, is doing the kind of work that you want to do far and away the most important thing to you, and that will always take priority, or at least for the time being, over pretty much everything else?
Until I have a family, yeah. I think when I have kids, there will need to be a readjustment and a reprioritization of things. My mom would always say, when you're a parent, you become a parent first and everything else second. And I think that's true. So I really want to indulge in this time before those responsibilities arrive and ruthlessly pursue a career in acting. Yeah, that is the thing that I care the most about. I know that I will be acting for the rest of my life, even if it's in basement theater when I'm 80 years old. I love being in a play more than anything else in my life. The feeling that I have when I'm enjoying myself on stage, the scene is going well, I feel really in it, my scene partner and I are connecting, we can feel the audience, like, that is the best feeling I've ever had. I don't know any other feeling like that. It's the thing that gives my life purpose. To be honest, if I didn't have that feeling, I really don't know. I would be really lost. Like, I'm chasing that all the time. And it gives me like an existential peace, because I know that there's this thing that I love to do in this weird way. I love to do it to a weird amount. Like, it's almost a religious devotion to it. And it makes me feel it is religious, because, like, I don't know why I can do it. I've been given this gift. Yes, I've practiced and I've honed specific skills and I've gotten better marginally, but, like, I probably am working with largely the same skills that I was working with when I was 13 in my bedroom, watching Jennifer Lawrence cry on my computer, pausing it, and then going to the bathroom and crying. Like, that ability it's unclear to me why I have it. And I know a lot of actors that don't have it. Like, they love acting, but they just don't have that extra, like, you know how just some people, it just really seems real, like, in a different way. Like, you believe them instantly the whole time. Not saying that I'm always doing that, but I can do that. And some people can't really do it. They can get close, but they're always doing, like, an impression of good acting, as opposed to, like, it's like a layer over them as opposed to just being one thing. And so, yeah, I feel like this gratitude for this ability that I have, and then I practice I do it all the time. I'm constantly acting. I'm constantly in these plays, and I'm like, feeling grateful for the opportunity, feeling grateful for my talent. And it's like this very positive loop that, yeah, gives me joy like nothing else in my life. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
That feeling that you're talking about, which you described, of like just being in sync, describe that. What is that?
Well, when you're really focused in the scene and it's feeling real, there's an energy transfer happening between you and your scene partner. It's almost like a rubber band or something between you. And you feel it, like, maybe it's something in the eyes. Maybe there's some kind of communication being passed through you going, this is going really well. Which is strange, because that's the actor brain that's not invested in the given circumstances. That's like the little piece of you that remains even when you're somewhere else. But it's tension in the room and looseness in yourself. It's a lack of tension in you, and there's tension in the air, or it kind of feels like you're blowing up a balloon and you know you're going to pop it. You have the pin, but it's on your time when you pop it. And you know that when you do it, everyone is going to have, like, when you have a line coming that you know is a big one, a big moment is coming, he's about to hit me, they don't know, he's going to throw the glass. Like, when you're sitting on that moment just before it comes, it feels very powerful. It feels very, it feels like I'm holding everyone in the room in my hands or something. And I can feel them leaning in. I can feel them, like, listening. And then you go off stage with your scene partner and both of you are like, that was amazing. Instantly you're grabbing each other going like, that was so good. Why was that so good? Because we both felt that feeling, whatever it is. It was obvious to both of us. It was obvious to the room. This is not something that happens in every play. It doesn't happen every night. But when it does, it really is like life affirming to me. And it reassures me that I can do it. Like this transcendent thing, we were able to achieve it tonight. So like, therefore I should keep going because I am capable of doing the work that I want to do. Yeah.
You said earlier that you used the word religion or something. Mm-hmm. Do you regard those experiences as your version of a religious experience?
Yeah, it kind of feels, I guess the reason why I use the word religious is just because it's kind of mystical to me why I'm able to act, and why some people aren't. It just feels like this weird skill that, or this weird ability that kind of can't be taught. You can refine talent and you can get better even if you aren't great. Like, you can definitely take big steps forward. But it really does feel like some people just have a magic power. And I see it sometimes, like the other night. You know who I think has it? The girl in the third play who played the homeless woman. Mm-hmm. She is excellent. That girl like has star power coming out her ears, in my opinion. I point to her and I go, you're going to win an Oscar in 20 years. I just feel it. Like her name is Emma Good. Shout out, Goode. She is really talented, and that is a hard character that she's playing. And she plays it with such honesty, and you watch her eyes. It's interesting because she's on stage and we're seeing her whole body, but she's also on camera at the same time, and there's a projection behind her so we can see her face. So she's doing film acting and theater acting at the same time. And her face is perfectly attuned to the camera. It's so subtle, the movements that she's making, but her body is also fully embodied. She's making a shape. She's gesturing with her whole body. It's engaging on two different levels at the same time. I think that's incredibly sophisticated, and she was funny and really dropped in, playing drug addiction with like a real empathy and appropriate weariness as opposed to like a campy tweaker energy. Anyway, I see these people not all the time, but often enough, and it's like clear as day to me who has it. I just like, it's like lightning strikes when they come out on stage. There's this other girl, Healy Knight, who again, I'm like, she's just like a local Brooklyn girl who does the plays with me, but I'm like her biggest fan, and I think she could win any acting award in any, like, she's genius and she just has it. And yeah, so I think I feel again embarrassed to say it, but I think I have it, and I don't know why I have it, and I'm so grateful that I have it, that it gives me this kind of like love and gratitude towards whatever entity gave it to me, which feels religious. It feels like a gift from God. Like, thank you for giving me something to be good at. And I guess I know everyone has this. But I feel grateful that the thing that I like to do so much, that I love to do so much, is also something that I'm good at.
How long does it usually take you to watch another actor to determine whether they have that?
It's very quick. It's kind of immediate sometimes. But I would say like maybe a minute or two into a scene, I have formed an opinion probably. And I'm always willing to be wrong. Sometimes I'll write off an actor because they're like nervous in the beginning of the play or something, and I'll think they're not that good. But then by the end of it, I'm totally won over and convinced they're brilliant. But yeah, there's something in the eyes. There's something in the voice. Some people just sound real. They just look and sound like they mean it. And I don't know what it is. And there's different styles. Like some people are really big and some people are really subtle. But I think the earnestness, actually doing what you're claiming to be doing on stage, is the key. When you're entering your kitchen and you're putting down groceries and unpacking, how can you do it for real? Don't like act putting your groceries away. Get rid of whatever that is. Convince yourself it's real and do it for real. Like that ability is something special.
We talked about fame a minute ago. In private conversations with people that you've met in New York, do you get the sense that most other actors that have moved their life to this city that are in the circles you're in have a similar belief that you do, that they are also destined for fame and the highest quality art, and maybe aren't as apt to admit that publicly, or
Perhaps.
Not necessarily?
At first I was going to say no, I don't think a lot of them have this feeling. I think they want it. They want that. But I don't know that they have this like certainty, this like gun to my head, am I going to be famous? Yes. Feeling that I have. My friend Claudia has this too, and I actually took a lot of comfort talking to her about this because it makes you feel crazy. Like it's an insane thing to say. There's no evidence to support that this is true. But it's like a gut feeling that it's just gonna happen. And I think some of my peers have this feeling. I think some of my peers that have like it factor, don't have this feeling. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is not something that people talk about readily. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that you want fame, or at least it's uncool. It's kind of gross. And I'm not proud of it, especially because I already live such a privileged life. Like on top of living such a comfortable life, you also want to be famous? Why? What's wrong with you? But I just want to be recognized. And, you know, with acting, like, if you're acting at the highest level, fame comes with that. Is that true? I guess you could be acting at the highest level anywhere. But what I mean by highest level is, like, big Broadway stage. You can't really get there without being known. So I guess everyone aspires to that. And I guess they wouldn't be in acting classes and pursuing acting in their late 20s and early 30s if they didn't believe that they had a chance. But I don't know that they have this eerie, fatalistic feeling that I have.
Hypothetically, if I met you in 30 years and that did not play out, you never became famous. You're in New York. People are going to know you in a certain niche in this city, but national fame, national movies, the biggest scale productions in this city, that doesn't play out. How would you regard your life? Obviously this could change, but would you regard yourself as unsuccessful if that played out?
No, I don't think so. I think, well, by that time, 30 years from now, I would have a family. So I would probably be more interested in that than my career. But I imagine that I would still be acting. And if I continue to act from now until 30 years from now, I'm going to be great. Like, I would be tearing the house down. So, especially after having kids, because I feel like that just makes you a better actor. So, even if I weren't famous, I would have to imagine that I would have built a network that would allow me to be doing some pretty cool shows. Even if I'm not doing it as often as I am now or something. So, yeah, I might be maybe a bit disappointed, but honestly, I'm so delusional. I'd probably be like, next year, it's going to happen. Don't you see me at 90, I'm going to be on the red carpet. I'll probably always be thinking that I can go further with it. But yeah, I really wouldn't want to think of fame as the marker of success. I think the quality of the productions is the marker of success.
That's really what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, sometimes the quality brings in fame. Yeah, but I would be doing work that I'm proud of is the thing that I want. And I've been proud of work that was extremely cheap and ill-attended. And that's fine. I felt proud of myself, and the people that did see it liked it, and that was good for me. I feel like I'm incredibly successful already, which is totally crazy, but I feel fulfilled. I mean, there's so much more I want to do, but I like my life a lot right now. I'm doing creative stuff all the time. I'm meeting new people all the time. And I have this feeling of like forward momentum. Yeah. I remind myself that when I was in high school and I was dreaming about being on SVU, being a guest on SVU was my biggest dream. That's a day player role. That's like small potatoes. I was up to a chemistry read for a series regular on a Netflix show at 18, or no, that's not true, at 18, at 22. But that's like further than I even dreamed of back then. So I try to remind myself that like I'm already living my dream, even if it's not the end of the dream. So much of my life today is like super cool. This podcast interview, I'm not even joking. Like, this is so cool that my life is such that I might be asked to speak about it. I'm really grateful for that. I could be more grateful though. I think I'm not in this headspace most of the time. I feel a little bit behind a lot of the time, but just because I feel behind doesn't mean that I am. And what does that even mean? There's no like official timeline.
Last question I want to ask you is advice to someone like you who is much younger, who is thinking about moving here. And maybe the best way to ask this is, what advice would you give your 22-year-old self with the experience you've had now as to what to do, what not to do, what to look out for, anything that might come to mind, the wisdom basically that you've gained in your time being in New York as an actress?
I would say that when I moved to New York and I started auditioning for stuff, because I was so convinced that I was going to book every single thing that I auditioned for, I never did any theater in the first few years in New York because I thought, well, I have to stay available in case I book. So I didn't really make connections with peers because I would go into an audition room and then leave, and there was no like community there. Or I would send in a self-tape and I wouldn't meet anyone. So I would say you're not going to book anything. So still audition, but just fill your life with acting work that you're in control of. And then, take a chance on the things that you're not in control of. Don't put all your eggs in the basket of, I'm going to book one of these TV shows that I'm auditioning for. Go out and like meet some playwrights in Brooklyn and get involved there so that there's work here now. Because the community that I've found is the reason my life is good right now. Like, I would be really lost without the Brooklyn theater community. I have a lot of great friends that I met through acting classes at Adult Film Brooklyn Center. And that's led to so much. Every play that I've been in, everything I directed, all of those people I met through those little theaters. And I was so lost when I first moved to New York I remember really wanting to audition for Irish repertory theater and having no idea how to do that. And I didn't know, and I was so frustrated about all these big theaters that like weren't interested in having young people with nothing on their resumes come in. And I didn't know that there were these other theaters that are desperate for new people, that are like, hey, who are you? So nice to meet you. Keep coming back. When I took, do you know George Oleski?
Yes.
I took George Oleski's acting class, and I was like noticeably more trained than some of the other kids in the class. And so George like pulled me aside and was like, you should stick around. You should be in readings here. Let's get you in some stuff here. And there was like a real effort on their part to find work for me. I had never experienced that anywhere else. And I immediately got invited to be a part of multiple readings, and from that got cast in plays, and from those plays got cast in short films, and it's just amazing all that came from those classes. And I was hesitant to take those classes because I had somewhat of a chip on my shoulder about, I've been to college, I went to 4 years of acting school, I don't need this. And yeah, I didn't need it. It's not like I learned so much in those classes, although there was stuff that I did learn, but it was just a great place to be seen. And yeah, I would give myself the advice to pursue those types of artistic relationships and not just the standard impersonal Actors Access agency audition route.
Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.